Welcome to the ME7 podcast. As you can see, the man at the top of the team, Neil Harris. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much.
Good.
Lovely.
Good.
Shake hands, won't we? Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Firstly, thank you for agreeing to do this.
That's all right.
Much appreciated.
All I say to it is,
Go on, go.
obviously, you guys approached the club.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a true story. Approached the club, and ultimately it goes to Brad first.
Yeah.
And Brad's a massive fan, as you know.
Yes.
And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Why not? I think it's the modern world. I think it's the modern way. So, from my perspective, I'm not saying we're going to do it every week. The local papers might not be too pleased with it, and the radio stations. But as a football club, look, we're trying to move with the times, and we've been so fortunate with the fan base getting behind the team with season ticket sales and just sort of even the numbers for the podcast going through the roof because we're actually doing well, and ultimately it's down to Brad and Shannon. So look, for me, this is part of the modern world, and thank you for your time.
I appreciate that. Can you believe nearly 18 months in charge? Can you believe it?
It's not.
It is. Nearly 18 months. You're about a month off.
Oh, I thought it was about 6.5 years.
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah. How, if you look at it from an overall point of view, how have you found it?
Let's break it down into stages. I get asked that we just so everyone knows, off the record, we've had a chat before, haven't we? At different times. Maybe one quite late at night.
Yes.
Sort of like why Gillingham for me, and there was my own reasons for it. But ultimately, it was because I knew where the club was at. There was no secrets. I knew where the club was at, and I knew where it could get to. It just took longer to get there than I hoped. So first few months, I really enjoyed it. We had absolutely nothing. We had the lowest budget. In the Football League when I took over. So that's in League Two. We was a League One club, lowest budget in League Two. So we almost created a miracle. Loved every minute of it until the last. I've got to be honest. About 4 or 5 games to go, we got to a stage where I had to speak to some of the players that were leaving about would they be interested in staying. And as soon as they said no, we just went like that, and we fell off a cliff at the end of the season. And even then, when I had my rant against Rotherham after the end, and obviously some of it was staged, but the reason for that was because of frustration and wanted to try and drag the club forward. I never envisaged how tough it was going to be last summer and the following months. I just maybe naively thought that budget that we had then that I took over would increase back to something sensible, even in League Two. It didn't. Hence why we ended up where we were at Christmas, and not just for Neil Harris, but for the football club. I think it was really difficult up till Christmas period last year, and then the Gallinson steamrolled into town, and I've got to be honest, nearly every moment since has been so enjoyable. It continues to be enjoyable.
We just touch on that period you talked about. So from the last few games of the season before last, culminating in Rotherham, and then obviously the first 6 months of last season. What would you give us like a day in the life of Neil Harris at that point? Because you mentioned before it was some of the toughest days certainly in your managerial career. Yeah,
there's a dent in the wall over there. I beat my head against it a few times. Sum it up, last year's transfer window was me and a mobile phone and trying to sort of attract players that didn't want to come because we couldn't attract them because of either location, because obviously Gillingham across the bridge and down the M2 because we had no money, or they didn't see an exciting football club. So really difficult. But a day in life was coming in every morning with a plan, and probably getting to about 10 o'clock and realising that plan gone out the window and having to rip it up, start again. Leaving the football club in 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 5 o'clock, gutted, disappointed, go home, then try and put up on the drive and then try and put my family face on. Day after day after day after day. Don't get me wrong, there's some good times in it. So we won some games and cut runs and whatever, and enjoyed some of the lads, company and their play. But it was really difficult. But that was, without being too negative, that was pretty much me beating my head against a brick wall day after day, and that was it. And the only light at the end of the tunnel was there was times I did really enjoy my job, and I've really enjoyed. Bizarrely, the worse we got, the more support I got from places. I know you guys always sort of balance and appreciate that, and there was some negativity towards me and the group. But the sort of the worse we got, there was a lot of positivity as well as support, and that kept me going a lot. But also, just I stayed because I felt the players needed me more in the building than out the building. Yeah. If I felt the other way, I would have left.
Yeah.
But I felt they needed me in the building, and that's why.
Sometimes they say that though, don't they? When almost times are getting hard and times are getting tough, that is, they need you more than ever then, rather than just saying, you know what, actually, I'm walking away.
Yeah, and I think that's where I sort of think, Stewie was my captain, Willow, Mecca, Alex McDonald, and Max Emler. People sort of would give a bit of feedback and a bit of context to the changing room. So that's why really. But pleased it did, because obviously it's a brilliant place to be. But back to the original question, the day in the life. Yeah, it was a tough period, tough time. Sort of here, but sort of taking that home as well, and sort of my wife and my 3 children sort of live the football side of it as well, because they come part of the package for me. They're fans now.
Yeah, Claire has said that, to be fair. Like Claire obviously listens to our channel, your wife, and she said to me at Player of the Year, to be fair, that during those times it was difficult, but the one thing that you were brilliant at doing was, as soon as you pulled up on that drive, you switched dad mode on, and that was it.
Yeah. You wouldn't play poker with me. It was, and that I think that really just come down to experience, and trying to say the right things in the press. I think that, sometimes that was the hardest thing, was trying to stand in front of the players and kid them on that we're going to go and win a game of football, or stand in front of the press and try and deliver something positive for the fans to hang on to after we'd lost and not scored again. That was probably the most difficult, and keeping the staff going. I would always appreciate the staff supporting, and that's what I think always went on about Paul Fisher, how good he was with me, for me, and I think for the football club in the whole, because he saw it not just as a businessman, but as a fan. And never get it wrong, he's a proper Gills fan as well. He loves it. Jesus, I know every goal I think Gilliam scored in 1986.
Yeah, obviously we flip it to modern day now. You've said to us and the press and everyone else that when you are out on that training ground, you want to coach the boys, you want to be in and amongst it. I suppose, like now, obviously, Owen said about day in the life. We flip it to now. Yeah. What is it for you now? Day in the life, you're coming in, you're probably almost on top of the world now, aren't you?
Yeah, I just think I think, was it Leicester, wasn't it? Leicester was January the 7th or 8th. I think it was Sunday game. Was it a Sunday game?
Saturday morning.
Was it Saturday morning?
Half 12.
Yeah.
That Saturday, from sort of that Thursday onwards, that Thursday onwards, I had a sort of sit down with Brad, I think on the Thursday or the Friday. Had a cup of coffee, had an hour. Really good chat, really good open conversation, 2-way open conversation. It was brilliant, and it was almost like, right, come, let's do it. Let's see where it takes us. And it was sort of like shackles were off me, and I think the shackles was off. We had 10,000 in the ground. No one really knew which way it was going to go, but what I knew was 10,000 people in the ground that day wanted it to go in one direction. The changing room, when I stood in front of them on Boxing Day, said, "This is a new era, this is a new start." They looked at me and like, "What are you going on about?" They didn't believe it. But when they walked on that pitch on the 7th of Jan with the same players, Nico was in the building but wasn't registered for the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Hawks and Timmy weren't in the building, so there wasn't a new influx of players, but there was a new feel to the ground. And we went to Hartlepool the week after. I thought, this is it. We're in a really good place now. We just got better and better. And all I can say was, it was a man who didn't want to get up to go to work necessarily. Who I feel I've got one of the best jobs in the world. I'd rather still be playing rather than playing, managing, because I think there's probably thousands of people watch your podcast. I know it's thousands because you do a good job, but would probably like to do my job. There's probably a lot of go, actually, yeah, it sounds really good, but why should I? Don't know if I would.
Yeah, they probably don't see that. No, the background of it though.
But I was probably a man, and I hate to say it, but I can be really honest, was times when I probably didn't want to go to work pre-Christmas or pre-January, and then from that Leicester game onwards, I was a man who was getting up before my alarm went off in the morning. Before my alarm went off at 5:30, I was up and excited and almost dressed like the school kid, standing by the door waiting for his mum with his bag ready to go. And that's what I was like. That's what I've been like since. So that's probably the best way to describe it. So Dad walking through the door, no face to it now, can just be myself.
Yeah.
But on the training pitch, ultimately on the training pitch, what I'm trying to do is make the players better. And even that, when we couldn't score a goal, I was just trying to make the players better, but just knew it was a difficult task then.
It was almost like a flick of a switch, not for just you mentally, but we brought in as well. I think the first Hartlepool, our first win at home, wasn't it? The 2-0 Nico scored in his debut, and then from then on, we didn't win every home game from them, but we won the vast majority of them. Didn't pick up as many points away as we wanted to, but did get those first couple of away wins that we've been looking for. So what was like the difference in mentality just straight off the bat from that?
I think the fact, my impact felt, my body language, my personality, as you guys know and your followers know, I find it hard to hide it. My passion and my honesty. I think that fed into the players. You know, as soon as I was like that, I think I took the players with me.
Yeah.
Nico being in, you know, Hawks, Timmy, you know, just like personalities coming in, just players that have been successful at the level. You know what a massive thing was, and it went really under the radar, was Hartlepool here, and it was 1-0 up, Nico scored, and it was like, oh, centre forward scored a goal. Wow. But it was after the second goal, Dom scored in the top corner.
Yes.
But 15 seconds earlier, they had a goal disallowed for offside. If the guy had left it on the line, it was a goal. But he didn't. He tapped it on the line. We could just stood over it and it was a goal.
We couldn't actually see that at far
end.
end.
They put the flag up. We kicked off. Glenn took the kick. We flicked it on. He went through. Timmy flicked it. Don went through and scored. And it was like, oh, like everything just gone full circle. 2 weeks earlier, that had gone the other way. And then Lapo walked in the building. Got announced that day as well. Yeah. And it was just like
snowball effect.
Yeah, there was belief in the club, and that was it. We actually went into games thinking, "Oh, we're going to win." Yeah. We went to Culture the week after, and I was like, lads, we'll win this today. We owe these one because they come and robbed us, and that was it. Actually, you went in believing, and that was a major difference.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about a lot about players' mental health, but it doesn't ever get talked about managers ever at all. Yeah. Obviously, we've spoken about your down days and your up days and everything else, but in terms of, I suppose, your mental health, was it? I can imagine during that time, and even now, you probably look back and it took its toll.
Yeah, I'd always go back. And I don't always like bring back Mill days as a Gillingham manager. Yeah. But I think there is sort of that. You know, I thought the fans on that game a couple of weeks back were fantastic, both sets of fans. But I think my time managing Millwall has set me in good stead to be able to do pretty much manage anywhere.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I I've learned a lot. It would have been really difficult last year if it had been my first job. Yeah. Either maybe my second or my first couple of years managing would have been really tough. But because it's sort of been there sort of 8-9 years in, sort of seen quite a lot. Mentally, yeah, very, very difficult. I'll probably go into sort of parent mode, but I think more probably about the lads than anything. So I sort of like to try and help my changing room. That's probably why I was still here really at Christmas. First thing was Brad and Shane were brilliant, and you know, I got brilliant. The moment I met them in November, they were class. I wanted to work with them. But I think really it was, I wanted to make sure my players were okay. I feel for them, their mental health, their negative. I don't do social media, so I avoid quite a lot of negativity, fortunately. Whereas I know they do it. Yeah. So I can imagine, like, you get beat and you miss an open goal, and the stick they must get is frightful. I'd imagine. So I worry about them for myself. So yeah, difficult. But then, you know, that is life for a football manager, and I fully accept that, and I really do. Yeah. Some geezer wants to shout at me abuse about having cancer at the age of 23. That's not acceptable, and I will get over the barrier. Yeah. But telling me I'm not a very good manager, well, it's only an opinion. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. Got enough West Ham fans tell me that. So, I've got no issue with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
You win 4 games. You win a game of football, you're a brilliant manager. You lose 4 games in a row as a manager. Majority of the time, you're going to get sacked. That's the industry.
Just move on to the pre-season period. Now we only are, it's mad to say it out loud actually, just over a week away from travelling to Edgeley Park for the opening day of the
Flown
season.
by it.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk us through the pre-season we've had so far. Obviously we've had a few new players come in. We have 2 more this week, one today actually, funnily enough, from the time. And then obviously you had the benefit of having the players coming in for the first full pre-season who came in January, so we always know each other. We had the trip to Lake Como, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about at the beginning of last season. You would never have seen that sort of thing come in. How's it been? Because obviously we've only got 1 game left. I know we had one on Tuesday. We saw the score, but we don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
but how was
we're on Dynasty score. We come second.
Yeah. How was because we've seen from games here we seem to be playing a bit more possession based than we were perhaps last season. Yeah. How has pre-season been for you, and what sort of styles have you managed to implement so far?
I think on a whole, pre-season's been really good, and it's so weird because all fans are interested in what's the results and who do we sign. For me, there's so much more in depth, obviously, to it, and ultimately, as a manager, you want as many players in the building as you can because you want to bed in philosophies and ideas. And as much as anything, you just want to get to know the lads, and you want the lads to get to know each other. That's such a massive thing. That's on the pitch and off the pitch. So you want to build combinations. Like, now let's get right. Max Amer and Conor Marston as a pair were excellent as a pair, but you bring in Shadogi into the equation, and go right. We're going to play a 3. If we can play a 3, then you've all get to know each other. Wrong word will right fit into that. If it's going to be a pair and Max is going to be injured, much wood is not, but Max is going to be injured. Well, Shad and Connor have got to play together. So you don't just want to put them into a game, i.e. a Stockport away or something, where it's going to be like the Alamo and they're going to be really good chasing you. You need to get those combinations right.
Yeah.
So you want to get your players in. That's why I want to get players in early as a manager. Results are important to a certain extent because they can tell a story of a game, but they don't always tell the story. Like Charlton here beat us 3-1.
Yeah.
But for 55 minutes, we battered them, and I thought we were excellent.
Yeah.
Just
best football I've seen from a Gills team in years.
But we couldn't score at the final bit.
Yeah.
They had 2 good moves second half, scored 2 goals. It was at the levels that they're trying to get in the League One, and the new owners come out and say we want to be in the Premier League in 5 years, or is that just we weren't good enough on the day? These are the things I've got to work out on where we've fallen short. So time is important, and that's one way. But then also you want to see the positive stuff as well, where you see us play really well and go, right, well, okay, we've got some players that can handle ball. So can we pass the ball a little bit more maybe we did last year? Yes. Can we do that every game? No. Are we doing it more because it's pre-season and the pitches are lovely and the intensity is not quite there? Possibly. And these are the things I've got to work out. But got to work out systems of play, combinations as said in centre forward, centre halves, wide player, full back, 3 centre halves. Whatever it might be, I've got to choose a goalkeeper between 2 number 1s. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. Results like we lost at Cambridge, we got spanked at Cambridge the other day, scoreline wise, did it reflect the game? Probably did. Why? Because we were nowhere near it as a group. I can be honest in this, and it's pre-season, but we were nowhere near it as a group, whereas Cambridge were right at it and really fast, and they had 5 shots and scored 4 goals. We had probably 7 shots and didn't score. So that's the difference. But you want to get those things out of the way pre-season, hence why I need to try things pre-season to get it out of the way, and that's why you play behind closed doors at times. But on the whole, pre-season's been excellent. Coupled with Como, as you said, how good was that?
So good.
Like, so could you believe it? Like, Gillingham, we're in Lake Como.
I think we took over, didn't we?
Yeah, well, just how nice was Como?
Yeah.
Beautiful place. And great for me to see Dennis Wise and Mark Bircham. But just again, talking about building a football club, just that coming together.
Well, you said to Phil in your interview after that you were going to have 10 beers and some steak. Did you do it?
I had the steak.
Yeah, and you had the steak.
I had the steak. And we had some beers as a staff. As a staff, had some beers.
Yeah.
Did I have 10? Well, I can't say if I had 10 because my wife watches this. Yeah, there was a curfew for everybody.
There was a
curfew. It was a midnight curfew. And
we know.
Everybody was back.
Yeah.
We saw what you were doing before the bus, but everyone was back at the coast midnight, so absolutely fine. But they're moments that you can't recreate. opportunity for fans to travel abroad. To see, ultimately, I said to one of the fans who was on our plane, actually, I was walking back through passport control with at Gatwick. He said, "I can't believe I've seen the Gills play abroad." I said, "You can't believe you've seen Gillingham win against Serie B team." And he went, "Yeah, and we won." So just little things like that. It was just mega, and that just doing this is a massive step in the right direction. Fans forums, massive step. Kiosks being open, they're not minor things, but the fact you can turn up at 2 o'clock and not think I've got to sit there with no drinks, nothing to eat, in the freezing cold, in the wet with 2 kids.
Yeah,
the club's just moving in the right direction.
It's the little things.
Yeah,
It's the little things.
And I think pre-season is just, it's echoed that. I know there's excitement and expectation levels, which I'm sure you'll get onto. But
Yeah.
It's positive, which is the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of expectation, you've been asked about it enough in terms of different interviews. So we're not we're not gonna ask because you've answered it enough what the expectations are. What we will say is that you said from day one about a project. This is a project. We've seen it over the years that the different managers have changed here and everything else. What we haven't seen is sort of one manager stay and stay and stay and be and ultimately be backed.
Yeah.
Obviously the ambition is next 3 to 5 years where we want to be back.
Yeah.
I guess you'd also love to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, it's so difficult. I don't want to again not sound in the project or excited, but it's so difficult because I touched on earlier about football management.
Yeah.
You win a game, you're a genius. You lose 4 in a row and you get sacked.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my fate is probably decided by a club perspective. Are we successful? But what's deemed as success?
Yeah.
And then also just for me personally, enjoyment factor. Enjoyment factor, and seeing a plan, and hence why I'm still here now and not before Christmas or come in the first place. So for me, I'm enjoying it, really enjoying it. Then the next step is for us to be successful, and that's the challenge on me as a manager now. Is there is an expectation level there for us to get to a certain position, I say position as in the league, but make sure dragging us forward. Guys, believe it or not, I literally go. I don't go game by game because that's too short-termism.
Yeah.
But I never look more than a month in advance.
Yeah.
As a football manager, I just don't think you can get yourself carried away. There's no point in me looking at the next window. The next window is my job. What I've always done is when I leave a club, it will be in a better state when I took over, and that's probably one of the other reasons I was still here in January, of my own accord, because I made that promise to the fan base and to the football club. And we're certainly better today than we were. And I like to think I've been a part of it, but there's so much more to come and build here. The most important thing is that the day I leave, whether it's a month, whether it's a year, whether it's 5 years, as you said, Jay, whether it's 5 years, the important thing is that the club is in a lot healthier position than when I took over on the 31st of January 2022. 2022? 2021.
2021. 18, nearly 18 months.
Yeah, so, and 2022. So we're on the right pathway. So ultimately, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm sure you'll see. I think we've got 700 or so allocation for next week. Might be bumped up a bit more, but I'm sure that'll be sold out. And I suppose just a bit of this wasn't a question we had planned at all, obviously. But obviously we had news this week. Both Scott Malone and Ashley Neasden signed today. Just gives a bit of an overview of how those deals came about. What you're expecting both to offer.
Scotty, real surprise. I got to be honest.
He mentioned to me in Coma about the championship offers, didn't you? So.
Yeah, absolute surprise. How have we got Scott Malone? We're saying we've got Johnny Williams. It's not. No, I don't mean how have we done it. It's not. So that was me asking a question for me to answer. How have we attracted Scott Malone, Johnny Williams? And look, the answer is it's not because of money. Let's be clear on that. And that's, I think, people are starting to understand that we're not going to be top 5 or 6 budgets in the league, but we've got a great group of lads. Great group of lads that are good lads. I've known Scott Malone a long time, and again, location's really good for him. Really suits. So, look, if the Championship club had offered a lot more money, would he go? I'm sure he would have done. But Scott's decision wasn't based on finances. Let's put it that way. It's the safest route. So he's not gone, oh, I dropped to League Two. You know, there's a lot for Scott to take in the equation, which he might open up on one day. But at the moment, it's a good place for him to be. It'll bring a lot to us this year. But straight away, Scott's got to make sure he's in the team because he's got Max Clark fighting for position with him, who's a top player at the level as well. You know, we're a really fortunate position to have two excellent left backs or wing backs and two excellent right backs.
Can't remember the last time.
No.
Yeah.
Or right wing backs that can both, all four of them can do full back or wing back. And Catleb and Robbie and Max Clark in particular can probably do right centre half or left centre half accordingly. So they've all got challenges to play. And Ashley Naderson is completely different to what we got. Nadders is someone who came to Millwall a long time ago when I was doing the 21s from, I think, Hawley at the time. I think Hawley was his non-league team. And he came in and I really liked him. Just didn't materialise then, didn't feel it was quite right. Or I can't remember why it didn't materialise. But something I've always watched and I like his style of play. Something we thought Tristan Abrahams might bring a little bit of last year, but Tristan never really got a chance because the other two buggers did so well. Done so well, and then if I didn't play one of them, then I played Lapsley a bit higher up because he's such a good player. So Nadders comes in. What Nadders, him and Nichols were a very, very good pairing in the division. I don't think Crawley always played to their strengths. I've got to be honest. I think that's why Nadders should have scored more goals. They always played to his strengths. But he runs behind and he is absolutely rapid. You think Dom Jeffries is quick, he's even faster. So he's rapid. He knows Tom Nichols really well. They're a really, really good pairing in the way they played. And I think he'll be a really, really good pair for Ollie Hawkins as well. So he just adds something, you know, that we feel we lacked a little bit, and that's pure pace.
Good. Perfect way to round it off. Obviously conscious of time. Neil, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, thank you, gentlemen. Enjoyed it.
You've been watching the ME7 podcast.